Thank you very much and welcome everyone. If I could ask everyone to be upstanding for our opening prayer. Almighty God, we ask that you be present at this meeting to assist us in our service to the community through local government. We pray that our decisions will be wise and taken with goodwill and clear conscience. Amen. Item 2 is councillor and officer presence at the meeting. All councillors are in attendance. We have our Chief Executive Officer, our Director of Infrastructure and Environment, and our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development. Apologies and granting of leave. Nothing's going anywhere. Disclosures of conflict of interest. Got any conflicts to disclose? No. Item 5 is election of Mayor, and I'll hand over to the CEO. I'll swap seats, vacate the seat.
You probably don't need to for the first part, but that's okay.
Oh, don't I? Oh, do I do the first? Do I do the term?
Thanks. Mr Mayor, I might just address the item.
Okay.
Councillors, Section 25 of the Local Government Act 2020 sets out the requirements in relation to the election of the Mayor, and we've provided an extract from the legislation there for you on page 6. The first item of business is the term of office of Mayor, and as you may well understand, the election is in 12 months' time, and so it seems a bit unusual for us to be electing the term of the office, but that is a requirement of Section 26 of the Act. Mr Mayor, I'll pass to you in terms of that business item.
Thank you very much. So, would someone like to move a motion that the mayoral term be 1 year? Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the mayoral term be 1 year.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. All in favour of that? Carried. 5.2 is election of Mayor, and I believe now it may be time for it to be moved seats.
Correct. Councillors, the role of Mayor is defined in Section 18 of the Act, and again we have an extract of the Act included in today's agenda for your reference. In terms of process, there's a couple of things that we need to consider. We'll take nominations, and depending on the number of nominations, ask each nominated councillor to speak or address the council for up to 5 minutes, and then the election will be conducted, and then following that we'll go to the next business item where there will be an address by the outgoing Mayor and an address by the incoming Mayor, if so required. So, councillors, I'll call for nominations now for the position of Mayor. I think Councillor Dickshay, you just beat Councillor Watman.
Thank you, Madam CEO. I'd like to nominate Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Councillor Dickshay. Is there a seconder for that nomination? Councillor Watman. Councillor Whitehead, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Councillors, are there any further nominations for the position of Mayor? There being no further nominations, I'm very pleased to announce Councillor Whitehead duly elected as Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to take the chair?
Resume again.
So we do have item 5.3 and 5.4, the address by the outgoing and incoming. You might like to combine those.
So I would love to combine the two of those, the outgoing Mayor and the incoming Mayor. So the last 12 months have been a little challenging, as we have for the last nearly 4 years since we've had fires and COVID and different things that have happened in floods, and it's been a challenge to with the capital works budget and the ability to employ staff to get the works done, as the sector's short on staff right across, not just Towong. But saying that, I think the work that has been done has been exceptional and making a big difference to our communities, and I believe that the next 12 months will see even more of that happening, and so I'm excited to be Mayor for the next 12 months with the opportunities that we have in Towong Shire for the remaining of our term. A lot of the projects that are in our capital works have begun, and so this is an opportunity for me to follow those through to completion, because we'd like to think that most of those projects will be completed by the end of our council term, which is really exciting, because the things that are planned and that are happening will be making a difference to our communities. So it's a great pleasure to take on this role for another 12 months, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Did that cover both, Councillor Dickshay? Item 6, election of Deputy Mayor.
Would you like me to speak to that one?
Yes, we'll get the CEO to speak to that one as
Thanks,
well.
Mr Mayor. Councillor, Section 20A of the Act states that a council may establish an office of Deputy Mayor, and that certainly has been the practice in recent times for our council. If the council does not establish an office of Deputy Mayor, then there's a section of the Act that contains provisions in relation to the role of an acting mayor, and the difference there is that it is not necessarily an ongoing position, acting mayor. It is only when the council requires or is in a position where the mayor is unable for any reason to attend a council meeting, or is incapable of performing, or if the position of mayor is vacant. So there is a difference between acting mayor and deputy mayor. But as I say, our practice has been to appoint a deputy mayor, and the purpose of this business item is to determine whether or not the council will continue with the deputy mayor position, and then if so, the actual the election process for that position.
Councillors, I'll hand over. So my understanding would be a motion would be that we have a deputy mayor, but also the term of that role.
Yes.
Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that we establish the office of Deputy Mayor and that the term of that office be for 1 year.
Thank you, Councillor Scales. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dickshay. All in favour? Carried. Election of the Deputy Mayor. The CEO doesn't really need to speak to that. So really it's very similar to what's happened with the election of Mayor. So if we run under the same guidelines, I'm sure we'll be fine. So we'll call for nominations for Deputy Mayor. Any nominations for Deputy Mayor? Councillor Dickshay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to nominate. Excuse me, just had a mental blank. I'd like to nominate Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Councillor Dickshay. Do we have a seconder for that nomination? Councillor Scales. Do we have any further nomination? Oh, sorry, Councillor Anderson, do you accept that nomination?
Yes,
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Do we have any further nominations for Deputy Mayor? Councillor Scales.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Do I have a seconder for that nomination? I'd actually like to take the opportunity to second that. Councillor Wortman, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. So now we have the opportunity for the two councillors to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Hopefully we won't need that long, but so we'll start with Councillor Anderson, as Councillor Anderson was nominated first. Councillor
Thanks,
Anderson,
Mr.
if you could address the council.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, councillors. We've been through a lot over the last 3 years that I've been in, the fire and COVID, and somehow I've managed to juggle through all that working part-time as well. I do work very hard with communities and I'm dedicated to joining them together and all working together within the Shire. I've learned a lot to date and hopefully this could add to my experience.
Thanks.
I really enjoy serving.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you.
Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to say it's been an honour to be the Deputy Mayor the last 12 months and I think I've worked well with the Mayor and I think we work well together, and with the Mayor being in the east and I'm being located in the west, I think that balance works well. I think together we've promoted a very an environment within the council of a teamwork, and I think we've all worked really well around the council table, especially with the senior management team, and I think we can work well in the next 12 months together, working with our communities with these very large projects that are coming to fruition. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Would anyone like to speak to their nominations? Did we give that opportunity? Or are we happy to go to a vote? Councillor Scales?
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. And just very briefly, look, we've got two very strong candidates here for the position of Deputy Mayor. My nomination for Councillor Wortman was because I understood that he wanted to stand as well as Councillor Anderson, and I believe that it's only fair that both people that wanted to be Deputy Mayor get that opportunity to vote. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Anyone else? We'll put it to the vote. So those in favour of Councillor Anderson? And I believe 3 is going to be 2, so I don't know that we need to go to the vote for Councillor Wortman. So congratulations, Councillor Anderson, on being elected Deputy Mayor. Councillor Dickshaw.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Although it's not on the agenda, I'd like to move a motion of thanks to Councillor Wortman for his efforts for the last 12 months, in particular as Deputy.
Councillor Scales.
Happy to second that motion, Councillor Dickshaw.
All in favour of that motion? Item 7. Confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of October 2023. Someone like to move those minutes? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the information be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder?
Can we just check the motion, please?
Check the motion.
Sorry, councillor, you said that the information be noted.
Or
Generally, we would just confirm the minutes
okay,
as per the recommendation.
I'll move that the information
The
no, so
confirm-
that their meetings
The minutes are circular?
minutes be noted.
confirmed.
Confirmed.
7.
That the minutes are circulated be confirmed for the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of October 2023. Sorry, I moved on to the wrong one.
Mouse moves pretty quick. Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Dick Shay. Well,
It's catchy.
all in favour? Carried. Petitions and joint letters? Nil. Public question time. I'll hand to our CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, we have received a submission for public question time. However, we are just checking the validity of that submission, and we haven't been able to confirm that before now. So we're conducting further inquiries in terms of the submission, and once we know the answer, we'll be in a position to present that to the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Informal meeting of councillors. Attached to Appendix 1. Someone like to move a motion on that one? Councillor Anderson.
Take two. I'd like to move the information be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Scales. Again, I'll put that all in favour. Carried. Appointment to committees and boards. Do you want to run through that, Madam CEO, or as
I
the
think it's pretty
as the
self-
table?
Yes.
Was there any discussion needed on that, councillors? Are you happy with the table as it sits to the external committees that everyone's involved in? If so, would someone like to move a motion that the representative committees?
We could perhaps go by exception, Mr Mayor, if there are any changes to suggested changes to the reps.
Are there any suggested changes? The only one, could I possibly get added there, Thrive, as a group, and so that's a committee that's run out of Corrion that I've actually been on for probably the last 18 months or 2 years, well, not be more than that now, it'll be a couple of years. I just think it's a lot easier if I'm actually officially a council rep at that. It's a lot easier for conflicts of interest and that sort of thing moving forward.
Do you want to just incorporate it into the whole?
Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move a motion that we add Thrive to our boards and committees, and that you be appointed to that, and that all of the representatives as listed in 2023 be continued to 2024 for the relevant boards and committees as listed.
Thank you, Councillor Scales. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dickshay? You don't wish to speak to that, Councillor Scales, do you? No. Councillor Dickshay? We'll put that motion. All in favour? Carried. No one's against. 12, council meeting arrangements. And I'll call on our CEO just to give a quick...
Thanks, Mr Mayor. As per usual at this time of the year, we suggest some dates and times for council meetings. We've continued with the normal practice of alternating between Corryong and Tallangatta, except for the period from 28 August through to November, when the election will be being conducted and the VEC will be residing in the council chamber in Corryong, and so we'll be unable to use the chamber for that period of time, hence the reason why there are consecutive meetings in Tallangatta. And we generally meet on the 4th Wednesday of the month. However, when there is a public holiday, we have moved that to a different date, and you'll see that's happened in December. So we've put forward a recommendation there for you to consider.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on that, councillors? No? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the ordinary council meetings for 2024 be scheduled as follows, with the meeting commencing at 10:30am as the recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Ooh. Councillor Scales? Councillor Wortman, no. Councillor Scales, you don't wish to speak to that. Not trying to discourage you. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. No one's against. (13) Organisational improvement, and 13.1 is our quarterly budget report, and I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the financial position of Council as at the 30th of September. The current state of the actual versus budget is heavily influenced by the recognition of income that was deferred from 2023 into the 2024 financial year, which is resulting in us being significantly ahead of our budgeted income and budgeted operating surplus. And importantly to note is that our capital works progress as at 30th of September is within budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on that report, councillors? No? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman, a seconder. Councillor Scales. Councillor Wortman, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Very briefly, once again, it's important to note that we do have a significant amount of money at the moment, but it is heavily tied up with grant funding and for the deliverables of very large infrastructure projects as number one, as well as a lot of community projects as well. But a very important thing to remember, and we've got to remember that that money is ear tagged. It is not money that we can use for any other reasons. And a very important thing is that to reflect on is that our longer term financial sustainability is dependent on the ongoing receipt of grants to fund the renewal of our ageing infrastructure and indeed just supporting our community in our large amount of community services that we provide as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. No one's against. 13.2, action sheet reports. Happy to take those as read. Any questions or clarification on action sheet reports? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Dickshay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Dickshay. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. (13.3) Annual report, and so it's my pleasure to actually present the annual report for 2022-23. Possibly, as I've spoken about before, there's so many things happening in the Shire at the moment, and probably like to start by thanking all the staff that have been working so hard to make all these projects and the different things that we have going on within the Shire run so smoothly. Just a few things that are happening at the moment that I'll run through. The Corryong Sale Yards redevelopment, so there's truck wash and weigh scales being put in there, very close to completion. Heavy vehicle bypass also coming along very well, and you know, something that we've been speaking about for an awful long time was getting the heavy vehicles out of the main street of Corryong. So exciting project. Revitalisation of Hanson Street and the Corryong CBD. Really only in the early stages. Give you an update, the curbing's going in on stage 1 today as we drove down, so that was pretty exciting to see some stuff getting put in place. Bellbridge walking tracks started, and there's more to happen there. A great opportunity for the community to be able to walk along the beautiful foreshore at Bellbridge. Midder Streetscape, Cudgel Avenue of Honour, the Corryong Aerodrome, 24-hour fuel. You know, this is again a bit of an opportunity to activate the aerodrome a little more now that there's fuel there. Wisers Creek Road upgrade. We've also had Little Snowy Creek and Smythes Road bridges replaced and upgraded. So just a few of the things. There's a lot of planning stuff happening at the moment with plans for Mount Elliott, Lake Hume, and placemaking for Bellbridge, Bethanga, Corryong, Midda and Tallangatta. So a lot of stuff happening in council at the moment, and very exciting. So our annual report for 22-23. Any questions or clarification on that report? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented, and if possible, could I add a third point? I'd just like to thank the staff for the enormous amount of work it takes to prepare an annual report, and yeah.
Yep. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Dickshay. Councillor Waltman, would you like to speak to that motion at all?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Again, as the recommendation, I'd like to thank the Mayor for presenting the report, annual report. Look, as you've covered off, there's so much happening, and we're getting great results for our community, and yeah, some of them are coming to a completion, which is really great. And again, I'd just like to thank the staff for putting the report together, because it is an enormous amount of work goes into it.
Yeah. Thank you. And Councillor Dickshay. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 14's asset management, so 14.1 to November 2023 asset management report, and I'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this report provides an overview of asset management activities across the Shire, including a summary of the Capital Works project progress. To note, there's the top 15 projects that are on the way at the moment. We've spoken about some of those in this meeting, represent 63% of the total Capital Works budget. And to say that 2 of these projects are now complete, 8 are under construction, and the remaining 5 will be out to tender by the end of December, which is a great outcome for our Capital Works program. And the recommendation is as presented.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on that report, councillors? Someone like to move a motion? Councillor Scales.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Scales, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I would like to thank our infrastructure team for the significant amount of work that's going on. The Capital Works dashboard really shows the amount of work that is going on within the Infrastructure Directorate. It's an extreme amount of work that's going on. Now, it's important to note we do get some community, what's the word? I've gone blank. Feedback. at times, and we're the first to admit we don't always get it right, and things happen as soon as you lift that ground up that is an unknown, especially in our older towns. So we get along and we get over them issues, and we always end up delivering extremely good outcomes for our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Councillor Anderson, anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 15, Councillor Reports. 15.1, reappointment of Chief Executive Officer.
Mr Mayor, I have a direct conflict in this item, and so I will remove myself from the meeting.
Thank you, Madam CEO. So this item is a reappointment of the Chief Executive Officer. The employment contract for Council's Chief Executive Officer ends on the 30th of November 2023. The Chief Executive Officer Employment and Remuneration Committee has considered the options of reappointing Ms Phelps or market testing for the position, and it is the recommendation of the committee that Ms Phelps be reappointed for a period of 4 years. And I might even run through our recommendation. One is adopt the Chief Executive Officer Employment and Remuneration Committee recommendation to reappoint Ms Juliana Phelps as Chief Executive Officer for a period of 4 years commencing on the 1st of December 2023 in accordance with the relevant provisions of the Local Government Act, and authorise the Mayor and Deputy Mayor to sign an employment contract with Ms Phelps with the terms and conditions recommended by the Chief Executive Officer Employment and Remuneration Committee. Pardon? And Ms Phelps be congratulated on her reappointment and thanked for her dedication to Council and the communities we serve. So I might just run through the Mayor's view. The performance of our CEO over the past 3.5 years has been of a very high standard, and this is reflected in the results of the annual performance reviews. The independent review process we have adopted each year has demonstrated a consistently high standard of performance across all key performance areas. The challenges during the past 3.5 years were unprecedented, with the recovery efforts following the Black Summer bushfires, a worldwide pandemic, a council election, floods, and a very challenging employment market for attracting qualified staff. I believe we have been very fortunate to have a CEO the calibre of Juliana during these most challenging times. Juliana is a hard-working, loyal and dedicated employee of the council who uses her experience and knowledge to benefit our organisation and our communities. It is the recommendation of the Chief Executive Officer Employment and Remuneration Committee to reappoint Ms Phelps for a period of 4 years commencing 1st December 2023. Is there any questions or clarification? Would someone move a motion? Anyone? Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move your recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Councillor Scales, did you want to speak to that at all?
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and very briefly once again. Look, in my view, I have worked alongside Juliana for 11 years. Now, we haven't always seen eye to eye over that time, this is for sure. However, our CEO, Ms Juliana Phelps, has got the heart of Towong within her. She strives to achieve the best for our communities, and I believe she does an excellent job and endorse a four-year contract extension. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Totally agree with Councillor Scales and the Mayor's report. This was the first time that we've had the Chief Executive Officer Employment and Remuneration Committee. I think it's improved the process, and I think, yes, I agree with everyone that Ms Phelps has done a great job, and I totally endorse her reappointment.
Thank you. Councillor Wortman. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Yep. CEO has returned, and I see on our workshop agenda that the CEO is leaving at lunchtime. No need to do that, Madam CEO. You have been reappointed for a 4-year term. Thank you.
Thank you,
16's urgent business, which is nil. Council policies. No policies for review or adoption this month. Sealing of documents and confidential. We don't have any confidential either, so thank you very much. Our meeting concludes at 11:15.